Well, it's midnight here, and I'm done for the day. Go up and have a quick drink, and get back at her in the morning. Doesn't seem like I got a lot accomplished, but I guess it's a fair amount. The motor's all bolted in place. The mock-up transmission is in place and bolted up to make sure everything lines up. I got the radiator all mocked up. That fits nicely. The electric fan and fan shroud are in. Electric water pump is on, an alternator. I now have the carburetor and the air cleaner. Now you'll have to ignore the air pan. The reason I have that on there is that's what I ran on the race car. I'll be getting something a lot nicer for this car, but the reason I had to put it on now is because my K&N breather is for a Dominator, and my carburetor is only a 4150 style. So my air cleaner has to sit on the air pan for right now. Like I said, I'll be making a much nicer one at work, and then I'll probably also get a new K&N filter for that is to fit a 4150. But she's coming along. I'm getting pretty happy with what I got accomplished. Still got lots to do. So now that I have the carburetor on, tomorrow I can. Some of the first things on the agenda would be to, that the carburetor's on, I can mount my fuel regulator. That's going to be over here on the firewall where it was before. The holes are already there. And then I may have to shorten up my dash 8 AN line, my stainless braided line. It was pretty long in the Mustang, so I may have to shorten that up. And what I think I will do is I'll come from my regulator down and up and behind the alternator, and then up into my fuel log. That's dash 8, so it's 1/2 inch, so it takes up quite a bit of room, but it'll fit. And then after that, I have to drop the header in this side and bolt it all up. That way I can run my transmission lines. I'm running the same lines I had on the Mustang. They're dash 6 AN braided line, stainless braided line, and I'm hoping they're long enough because this is the exact same setup that I ran in the Mustang, because the radiator and the transcooler and everything was originally in this car, and then when I built the Mustang, I took everything, the fuel system, the cooling system, off of the Camaro and on the Mustang. But the braided stainless dash 6 AN lines, transmission lines, were built on the Mustang, and that's a lot shorter. So I'm hoping I have enough. But if not, I'll just have to put I'll just have to cut them and put a straight fitting in them and lengthen them out, which is not a big deal. So that has to be done. My MSD, my 6AL, originally was up here on top of the heater box. So that's going to go, I'm pretty sure that's where it's going to go. It may end up here on the inner fender where I have more room for my two-step and stuff to go alongside of it, because back on the firewall, there's not a lot of room to put my 3-step and my dial selectors. So we got that to do. And like I said, with the carburetor on now, the fuel line can be done. And I can cut and manufacture my new low car throttle cable. And speaking of low car, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to get one of their flexible firewall mounted transmission dipstick tubes for a Turbo 350, because it is so super tight in there that I can get my hand down there and get the bell housing bolt in, but with the dipstick tube there is no room. So I think they're quite expensive. They're like $100 here, but for the aggravation, that's the route I may go. What else we got to do? We have the electric black Holly pump that to put back here. The new fuel line is run from the new tank and sender out here to the wheel well on the frame rail, and from there up to where the regulator is going to be, I just have to put the pump and the 2 filters that you've seen in previous videos, get them mounted in, and then I have to go up in my stockpile of small block Chevs and find a crank pulley and get that to fit, because as you can see, I still have the single row on there that's just for the alternator, and it's the small diameter. I need a 2-row because I have power steering on here, so I gotta bolt up the power steering pump. Then I have to put the crank pulley on. I have to go through my stock of belts and see if I can find something, because that's a mid-mount alternator now, and my other belt was where it normally is, up high on the passenger side. So we'll get the alternator shimmed out where it should be. I'm not exactly sure if them spacers are right that came with the bracket, but we can cut or shim them to fit. Get the belts running true, and then what I had before, when I had the smaller motor in it, that had a fairly decent solid flat tappet in it. It did not have much manifold vacuum at all, but we put a band-aid on it by running this vacuum canister. So this just stores extra vacuum, because the motor would make some vacuum when it was turning up quite high. So this is just added storage of vacuum that along with the booster. So while you was idling, you would be able to probably pump your brake pedal 3 or 4 times before it got hard and you lost power assist. So the cam in this one is really big compared to the other motor. This here has a lot of overlap. It's in at 105, and so normally on the cam card it's ground on 107, so I have it 2 degrees advanced, and it has a lot of lift, so this makes like no vacuum at all. So as I showed you the other night in the video, I have an electric vacuum pump. So the electric vacuum pump, I'm hoping, is going to fit in this area here. And then I'm going to try, if I have room, I'm going to go the vacuum pump, and then the vacuum canister, and then the brake booster. That'll just give me all kinds of vacuum. And that way the vacuum pump won't be turning on and off as much. If I don't have room, well then it'll just be the electric vacuum pump, right, right to the booster. So she's coming. But anyway, I'm done for the night, and I'm going to go out and have a couple snacks and have a drink and get back at her in the morning. Hope you're all having a good vacation over Christmas, and we'll see you tomorrow. See ya.